Hi, I'm Yvette Raposo, and you're watching the DO Boxing Show.
Welcome to the DO Boxing Show. I'm your host, Yvette Raposo. Thanks for tuning into another episode. I'm here with Yvette Raposo, who's in the business of boxing. And we're going to be talking about what businesses she's in boxing and how she got into them. So, Yvette, we know that you have experience as an amateur boxer. Bring us to the business side of boxing.
Well, organically, after fighting, I started to teach boxing. And beyond just me seeing the need, personal need for me to share the sport with people, I also saw the need from a fitness perspective of people who wanted to learn maybe a new sport, self-defense, and let's face it, one of the best workouts on the planet. Mm-hmm. So for the most part, I teach one-on-ones, I do private sessions.
Okay.
My career has evolved to the point where it is now where I'm actually blessed to do in-home private sessions.
Okay.
Some of my clients actually have boxing equipment in their homes.
Great.
So that's kind of the bulk of what I'm doing right now around all the other, people don't know that about me and they think, oh, she just speaks. Yeah. And she teaches at gyms here and there, but it's been years of working in different gyms. I've developed different boxing programs at different gyms across the city.
Okay.
Most notably Venice Fitness, which is now actually no longer there. And I was at Riverdale Fitness for 10 years in the East End, where I touched a lot of people's lives with boxing. Mm-hmm. Besides that, I was teaching my group classes with Kingsway Boxing Club in the West End, so in the Etobicoke area.
Okay.
I ran those classes for 8 years under the Boxing Fit name, under my Boxing Fit brand, and that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work, but it was also one of the most satisfying things I've ever done in my life.
Very nice. Because
I was able to build a community, and of course I didn't do it alone. I did it with the help, the faith, the effort, the encouragement of all of my students who came from all over the city to come and learn this wonderful sport. So beyond teaching boxing.
Oh, sorry. So just to stick on the teaching of boxing for a second, if you're still teaching the boxing, how do people get in touch with you if they were interested in learning?
So they can get in touch with me via email, YvetteRaposo@hotmail.com.
Okay.
Phone number 416-877-0849, or on Facebook. Yvette Raposo, right off Facebook.
Perfect.
Yeah, so after finishing my classes with Kingsway, it was more of a, I just wanted a break from the way I was running my classes, so I stepped aside from it. So in the meantime, currently teaching at United, which is right downtown.
Okay.
Right on Bloor, between close to Dufferin.
Okay, great.
So until I figure out what I'm doing with my classes again, then that's where I'm at.
Okay, and we know that, or I know, I should say, that you do more than the teaching of classes. You're involved in so many aspects of the sport. So can you tell us about some of the other businesses that you are involved in?
Certainly. So I found that I want to speak a lot more about what I've noticed is over the years as I'm teaching people boxing from a fitness aspect. I know you know this, that it becomes a lot more than just physical. There's the emotional, mental, spiritual benefits of, the empowering piece that boxing gives to people. One of my taglines is boxing builds, ... fill in the blank. Mm-hmm. Boxing builds confidence, it builds people. When you build a person, you build a community. When you build a community, you build a world, right? Mm-hmm. And that's just, in my world, through my lens, that's what I see on a day-to-day basis. People are walking away from me feeling confident, feeling empowered. You can make better decisions about your life because, boxing is one of the surest, quickest ways to get to know yourself when you practice boxing. And you don't have to practice to fight. You don't have to train to fight. Not at all. I don't train people to fight. I could have taken one of two paths when I was teaching boxing. I could have went the fighter route, and taught fighters, or the route that I took, you know, and some people do a combination of both. But I really truly saw such a place for where boxing could be introduced to people who might not usually normally think about it. And just like I was that person, I didn't normally think about boxing as a way to empower myself. So to answer your question, beyond the boxing training, I started to feel this urge to speak a lot more on what boxing does for people, boxing training, let's say. So I started to get into public speaking, and part of that, when I was fighting as an amateur fighter, as an outlet, I used to actually write poetry. And of course I would write about boxing. So I loved spoken word through hip hop, rap, Tupac, Eminem in particular, different hip hop artists that hip hop in general just really inspired me because I listened to hip hop while I was training. And then just naturally I started to spit out my own rhymes and I would relate them to boxing. And I found it really, really soothing, especially when I was training. I really couldn't get my hands on anything else, right?
Yeah.
So many years later, I dug out these poems and found myself at a spoken word event where I was standing in a crowd of people, a bunch of strangers, speaking about my boxing poems. This was maybe about 4 years ago. And it gave me this newfound confidence and this new love for my sport from a different angle. So then I started to realize that there's angles to boxing. It's not just going in there and fighting. There's different aspects to the sport. There's different perspectives on the sport. You know, you see judges sitting on the 3 different sides of the ring. You see the cornerman or woman. You see the timekeeper. You see the audience. You see people from above. There's different viewpoints on the sport.
Absolutely.
So I started to see the sport just started to open up like this for me. And I thought, wow, what if I could speak about the sport? Or what if I could speak about the benefits of its training, because I'm a witness to it. I've trained hundreds and hundreds. I've introduced hundreds and hundreds of people over the last 20 years that I've been involved in the sport, or at least teaching it. I've introduced the sport to them. And if I can witness from first-hand experience what this is doing to people on a day-to-day basis, then I want to talk about this. So I had my sights set on, actually, I ran into Everton McEwen and yourself many years later, which was about 5 years ago at an event, and Everton was talking to me about shows that he wanted to start promoting, and he needed a ring announcer. And him and I just got to talking, and then of course I wouldn't shut up about boxing, and he just stopped and said, "How would you like to be my ring announcer?" And I said, "Yeah." So that's where it started. I did 9 shows with Everton, and that started to give me even more confidence outside of the spoken word stuff that I was doing, speaking about boxing, poetry, talking to people who never thought about boxing before. And now here I am standing in the ring again, getting to step through the ropes, this time with a microphone in my hand, speaking out to the audience with pride about, you know, how hard these fighters, I get to introduce these fighters who I know worked so hard to be there with their team, with their family members in the audience. So that was 3 years of that. And then from there, naturally, people just started talking to me and saying, you know, you should go to the pros, you should do this, you should do that. And that's what happened. So this year, 2018, I have done 2 pro shows, ring announcing, which I must say is very rare for a woman. It's not a role that you see many women in.
And how did you find the ring announcing to be, and how did you find the experience to be?
Super exciting for different reasons, really invigorating. It was a new challenge for me. I mean, I didn't really take any serious training in public speaking, although I do attribute 2 specific things to my success in public speaking. One of them being my love, my absolute deepest love for the sport and desire to speak about it. And number 2 was teaching my classes. Because in teaching my classes and teaching group classes, that gave me the confidence and the knowledge and the wherewithal to understand the dynamics of speaking in front of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So those 2 combined really brought me to this point where I'm now standing in the ring at the pros, living out my dream, because, you know, I always figured I am going to maneuver and master and work my way around the sport as much as I can to stay in the sport, to stay within the sport. So my experience at the pros was amazing. Everyone was incredibly supportive, encouraging, really received great feedback, not only just from my immediate circle, but from basically across borders, actually. So Yeah, so I'm continuing to get great feedback on what I am continuing to do. And my career doesn't end at ring announcing because, like I said, there's so many angles around the sport. And most exciting for me right now is the radio show that I have going on now, coming up on 1 year anniversary.
Nice.
Is Squared Circle Radio with Yvette Raposo. And that is really growing into something that I'm very pleased about.
And where do people find that?
So Squared Circle is on iLive Radio, which is www.iliveradio.com. They are an internet radio station doing some amazing things with independent artists. Because it's on the internet, obviously it is broadcast across the world. And my show for now is once a month. It's the 4th Saturday of every month.
Okay.
And it's at 11 a.m. called Squared Circle.
Mark your calendars.
Yes, mark your calendars because I am so pleased with what is happening on this radio show. One of the best feedback that I'm getting, one of the things that I'm getting in terms of that's most common in feedback is that it's an hour-long show. So these days I find people are more and more willing to sit for an hour or drive for an hour, or you're walking and listening, or you're cleaning the house or whatnot. But people are willing to give that time up to actually sit down and listen to people's stories, because people want real stories. Now in a time where we're so distracted with way too much information, we're being really, really distracted sometimes, I think, on purpose. We're being fed, we're in the era of fake news and just overwhelming a lot of information. I'm finding that the length of time, and my guests are giving me this feedback saying, you know what, thanks for really pulling my story out. Thanks for allowing me to finish my thought and finishing my sentence. And it really allows people to understand why people are the way they are, what motivates them to do what they do, because there's always a background. Oh,
there's always a background story, and I think what you're doing is so important because, especially in the sport of boxing, there's a lot of people that don't overtly promote themselves and don't get the information out. Like, there's a lot of people that will work out and they'll show that, but they don't let people know who they are as people, and that's really how you build fans and how you get businesses, which is what a lot of these people are after. They're after money, because that's part of the professional career. That's how you get the money, is by building the relationships with people, building relationships with businesses, and them knowing who you are as a person. So Yvette, can you just tell our viewers basically how they can get in touch with you if they're either interested in personal training, if they're interested in having you as a ring announcer, and are you willing to travel, I guess, for the ring announcing anywhere?
Yeah, certainly.
If they can get in touch with you for the ring announcing and also for iLive Radio, how do they get in touch with you? We know it's going to be every month, but if we can just go with that information one more time for our viewers, that would be fantastic.
Certainly. The best way is email. So Yvette Raposo at hotmail.com, YVETTE at Hotmail, maybe in the subject line regarding what it is.
Okay.
You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram, both Yvette Raposo, and I update a lot of what is going on there on those platforms.
Awesome. Check her out. Check out her Facebook page. Again, it's always good to keep tabs on people that are doing things in the sport, especially the business of boxing. They're going to keep you up to date on what's going on, who the people are within the sport. Thanks so much to Yvette for coming out and doing the interview. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure that the fans do as well. Remember, if you have any questions related to boxing, send us a message through Twitter at DOKPOSIO, through email at posio@hotmail.com. And don't forget to subscribe to get every episode of the DO Boxing Show. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Peace.
I was trying to get it how I live. I want them dead presidents. I want to pull up, head spin, get it, get fly. I got 6 jobs, I don't get